Just a sec, I will double check whether stream has started in community. Okay, so we are live. Okay, so welcome to the episode 16 of the full final B2B marketing show. And today I want to talk about how to run account-based marketing programs in crisis and what is the future of account-based marketing. And from my point of view, the best fit guest for this discussion is definitely a person who lives in ABM world and does ABM regularly. So today my guest is Jon Miller, CEO at Engagio, a world-known account-based marketing software, and ex-CEO at Marketo. So with Jon, we are going to discuss lots of marketing topics, how to adjust marketing programs, how to run lead generation campaigns in the new reality, what changes should you make in your ABM campaigns, and many more. Thanks a lot, first of all, for joining me today, Jon.
Yeah, glad to be here. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, so the first question, but when I announced our chat in my B2B Marketers and Founders community, the first question that I got from several community members was how to adjust marketing programs and run lead generation campaigns in the new reality, especially if you are selling enterprise tech product. So guys also were wondering, what are you doing at Engagio? How do you adjust your marketing programs to new reality?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I was running marketing back at Marketo during the 2008 crisis. So that experience kind of definitely is guiding my thinking a little bit for now, both for what Engagio is doing as well as what I think other companies should be doing. To start with, though, really anybody who's doing account-based marketing, I think, is in better shape than people who weren't, before the crisis, because one of the things I've always said about account-based marketing is that it's a zero-waste strategy. You're taking all your marketing dollars and you're putting them onto the accounts that you want to talk to. And in times of crisis, usually budgets get cut. And so it's more important than ever to take your limited dollars and put them into the accounts that you care about the most. So first and foremost, we are seeing a bunch of our customers, in some cases, even doubling it down on ABM right now because it's a more efficient strategy. So I think that's point number one. I think point number two, a lot of marketing budgets historically go to building your database, right? You're always trying to get new leads, new contacts, new people to respond to your programs. But many people actually have pretty good databases, that have, the right people and the right personas at the right companies. So, again, when your budgets are cut, now is a great time to amp up your, marketing to your existing database. So revamp those lead nurturing programs. Think about what is your, how can you create more segmented streams, more relevant messaging to all the different subsegments within your database. That's a great strategy. Third is, really kind of, how you work with the sales team and how your sales team is touching people. Because, I think one of the worst things you can do right now is to be tone deaf in your outreach. Nobody wants, kind of just a generic message that just seems like spam. Well, nobody ever wants messages that seem like spam. But now it's sort of, I think, almost like more, as I said, more tone deaf than ever. So really coordinate, orchestrate your activities with your sales team. Make sure that every time you're touching somebody, it's with relevant, appropriate messaging. Specifically, for example, at Engagio, last couple of weeks, we really dialed back our prospecting into the New York region. In the US, that's obviously the hardest hit area. And, it just didn't seem appropriate to be, really prospecting heavily into those accounts, no matter what. Just two other thoughts. B2B marketing is always about building trust with your buyer. These are big, expensive purchases. They're risky for a lot of people. And I think our buyers are more nervous than ever during a crisis. So, brand is one of the ways you build trust, but so can expertise, thought leadership, vertical marketing, industry-specific messaging. These are all things that really appeal to nervous pragmatists, which we're likely to see a lot more of. And then my very last point is it's more important than ever to make sure you can measure the ROI of your activities using techniques like multi-touch attribution. Again, either your budget has been cut or it's going to be cut. And in that world, you've got to really be able to prove that what you're doing is having an impact, and then use those insights to improve kind of what you're doing. So high level, those are kind of 5 tips. Happy to explore more of those, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about during the crisis.
Perfect. Here is a question. How do you deal with accounts that froze all the investments in MarTech due to the pandemic? And what do you do? Do you use a free trial in order to book the ABM orchestration in client stack, or you just cut the account and focus on other opportunities? What adjustments do you or have you done to, what adjustments have you implemented to marketing programs?
Yeah, you can't really do account-based marketing with quote unquote a free trial. Account-based marketing is not just a little piece of technology you plug into something. It's a business strategy. It's a way of thinking about how you do your go-to-market. And so, what we found is that, people who believe in ABM and who have ABM initiatives, they're still finding ways to move projects forward, right? Because they know that investments in technologies like Engagio actually make all their marketing programs more effective. If somebody is just reflexively saying we're not spending money on anything, first of all, I don't believe them. Nobody's cut budgets all the way literally to zero. Just budgets have been cut. And so it's really just a question of, continuing to show the value that your product, your investments are, worth spending their more constrained dollars on.
Yep, I agree with you. I just want to ask one more question that is related to pandemic, and then want to step out of the crisis and talk about account-based marketing in general and the future of account-based marketing. But the last question that is related to new reality, to what we deal nowadays, always is the situation that account-based marketing is quite often related with direct mail. So you run some warm-up campaigns, and then you outreach with direct mail, which is quite common for B2B marketers. And the question is, what are your thoughts on how to run direct mail campaigns, and whether it makes sense at all to run direct mail campaigns when everybody works from home nowadays?
Yeah, again, direct mail is just one tactic in ABM, first of all, right? We got to remember, really what ABM is about more than anything else is just taking the time and investment to really understand who your best buyers are, and then what you can say to them that will really resonate and stand out in a crowded market. And then only the last step is then to figure out how do you get in front of them, right? And direct mail is one of many tactics. So, you could have a wildly successful direct mail or ABM program that never does any direct mail, right? Put another way, the most important thing is just how well coordinated your sales and marketing teams are, more than any one tactic. As a sidebar, a lot of people talk about ABM and advertising having a lot in common, and a lot of the advertising technologies use IP-based targeting, and obviously those don't work either, if everybody's working from home. And so, that's why I sort of start with my point about, like ABM is not about any specific tactic or channel. It's really about the insights and the coordination with sales. Now, that said, I am a fan of direct mail, and we have seen good success with direct mail at Engagio, and our clients have as well. I've seen, whether it's either from the direct mail vendor themselves or from the client, people have been sending out emails saying, hey, we have a package for you. Can you let us know? Do you want it sent to your work address or your home address? And what is your home? And certainly, at least in the US here, people are still getting plenty of packages every day, whether it's from Amazon or Instacart or you name it. So I think that there's a willingness to open packages. It's just about getting the person to opt in to give you the mailing address.
Yeah, I think it's a new renaissance for direct mail in the US and maybe globally in the entire world. And just to prove the fact, we can take a look at Sandoza, who raised around 40 million in investments, if I'm correct.
That's right.
Yeah, and they run this direct mails done for you campaigns. Perfect. Thanks a lot for your thoughts on this topic. Let's step out from crisis, from pandemic situation, and let's talk about ABM, because we have lots of questions regarding influence in the decision-making process running ABM campaigns. And the first question is, from your point of view, what is the minimum budget for ABM campaign, how to plan it correctly, and maybe how to run the account-based marketing campaign on a shoestring budget? Why I'm asking, because in SMB, lots of startups or lots of small companies, they tend to think that ABM is just a playbook for enterprise companies that can afford to buy Engagio or Terminus or other account-based marketing platforms. So what are your thoughts? What is a minimum budget, how to plan it, and how to run ABM on a shoestring budget if you're in an SMB segment?
Well, let's again start, by some of my biases here, right? I don't believe in an ABM campaign, right? ABM is a strategy. ABM is a way of thinking about how you do your go-to-market, right? And it's like, do I want to fish with a net, or do I want to fish with a spear? Do I want to be broad and see who I catch, or do I want to go specifically after specific accounts, right? So that's a mindset. That is not a campaign. The mindset doesn't cost anything. All right. The approach, if you choose the spearfishing mindset, just starts with being intentional about who do you want to go after? Who are the right accounts? Now, arguably, maybe that costs a little bit of money because you have to go buy some data, but that's certainly, I think, worthwhile, to be able to literally build the list of your target accounts. And make sure that those exist in your CRM, as account objects. From there, as I sort of alluded to, it's not about a channel. It's not about spending money on ads, like you mentioned, Terminus. It's not about spending money on any specific thing. It's about how are you and the sales team going to work together in order to try to reach these accounts, right? If you have SDRs, how do you allocate your SDRs to focus on those accounts? And how do you instill a mindset of this quality over quantity, and making sure that you're doing a little research to be relevant, before you reach out to people? Again, that doesn't cost dollars. That takes money. That just costs money. That just takes time and effort, and a willingness to coordinate with your sales team, which is even easier to do typically in an SMB business. Only once you know who your accounts are, you have good messaging that's going to be relevant to those accounts, and you have the ability to reach out to them in a personalized way, coordinating with your sales team. Those are the basics. Once you have that in place, then start thinking about maybe investing in some mudging and technology. I personally think that lead to account matching is an important piece of technology. Because at least if you use Salesforce, if you can't tie your leads to the accounts, you're going to not have a holistic view of what's happening at the account. So that's why that's the first thing we built at Engagio, was lead to account matching. And if you can't, I would say if you can't invest in Engagio, then find some process for lead to account matching, to get started. And then that forms the basis of making sure that sales and marketing can be looking at the same data, which is pretty foundational to then continuing to scale your ABM program.
I love the statement about mindset, because lots of companies tend to think about ABM as a one-time let's say, kind of silver bullet that will help you to penetrate into some enterprise accounts and to scale revenue. And that's true. It's just a strategy. It's a mindset. It's not one-time campaign you can run and forget. You mentioned that it's essential to know who are your accounts and tailor your messaging to their needs and challenges. And my question is, how deep should you go in personalization in your messaging?
So, there's I really like the framework of that there's different styles of ABM, and I can maybe send you a link to a slide you can share in the show notes afterwards or something. But let's think about kind of a pyramid of ABM styles. So at the top of the pyramid is what is called strategic ABM. And that's the true one-to-one, every touch, every interaction is deeply personalized between you and that account. That's typically going to be appropriate for your deals that are worth more than $1 million a year US. So if you sell those 7-figure deals, then sure, go full all in on making every interaction bespoke and customized to the account. On average, according to some data from the ITSMA, I think the number is the companies have on average only 14 accounts that they do that level of personalization for. Because you can't do that level of personalization for many more. Nobody has those resources. Yeah. So you move one step down that pyramid, you get into scale ABM. And this is appropriate for your deals that are, a couple $100,000 US, or $500,000 US a year. So 6-figure deals. And this is usually done by sort of segment-based personalization, where people will go and create, think about almost like a micro segment, 20 accounts that all are very similar. Maybe they're in the same micro sub-industry or have something else in common. You'll go do deep research about how you'd be relevant to that micro industry, and then you'll go do outreach based on that. Median number of companies, target companies that our customers have in that segment is usually about 50. So definitely more than 14, but still not hundreds, because again, it's hard to be like super segmented. The third level down is then programmatic ABM, and this is maybe appropriate for deals that are worth 5 figures, so $75,000, $60,000, US, if you will. And that is you're going to be using more broader techniques. This is where the direct mail comes in, the SDR outreach, things like that. But you're still going to take some effort to at least personalize it somewhat. Whether it's researching that person or that company, so you can add some elements of a human personal touch. But your overall marketing still might be, the message might still be relatively more generic. You're just adding that level of personalization. And then the bottom tier for sub 50,000, your $25,000, $30,000 deals, that's just what I'm going to call targeted demand generation. And that has almost no personalization. You just know who the accounts are and you focus your dollars and efforts on them, but with regular broad-based messaging, or just traditional segmentation that you might do. And so it's really, I'm not saying one of those is better than the others. It's about having the right level of personalization for the size of your deals.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to ask you, I wanted to dive in some of your favorite ABM plays, because we don't have a lot of time. I have a bunch of questions, but want really to excerpt your expertise from account-based marketing. So let's touch some of your favorite ABM plays. And one of the questions is, what is your favorite case study or ABM playbook for moving the account from pilot stage to a company-wide project? So basically expand inside an account. What is your favorite case study or playbook?
I'm thinking about a program that we did back actually when I was at Marketo that was similar to that. We, it started by, taking the pilot and making sure we had really good documentation of what that pilot's results were. So, really writing up the case study. And then it was a sort of a coordinated effort to market that case study into the rest of the account. And we did a couple things. One thing is we held a webinar where the champion from the pilot spoke, but we only invited people from that company. And the messaging was very clear, like this, this is a webinar just for them with one of their own employees speaking. And then the other thing we did is we put together an event about a block away from their headquarters. And again, it was basically the similar content where we had the champion from the pilot basically present on our behalf the pilot to his coworkers. And they knew it was a Marketo event that they were at, but again, it was also very clearly for that particular company. And that worked out quite well. So the theme there was, again, it was super personalized to that account. And we made it, therefore we made it really, really relevant, to all the audience, that it was clearly that it was about them.
That's a great case study. So another question I wanted to ask you again about your favorite playbooks or case studies is with frozen deals, because lots of companies have this issue. So they have some opportunities that were delayed or postponed for couple of months, and in most cases, SDRs, they just reach out with annoying follow-up, like, how are the things on your site? I just wanted to check in, and so on. So what are your best case studies on how to, let's say, shake these frozen deals and how to reactivate them?
Yeah. I'm actually just looking some stuff up as I go here. I think that's, we've done that kind of with kind of two strategies. The first is, just by providing some insights to the sales rep. Because oftentimes, the rep kind of gives up, if you will. They just, too busy. They can't, they have too many other accounts they're focusing on. And so we actually set up an automatic alert to a sales rep if they have any frozen opportunity that shows any sign of life with us digitally. And so, it could be that, they haven't touched that account in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and they've sort of given up hope. But then maybe some other person from that company shows up on our website and downloads a piece of content or registers for a webinar or something. And so by giving our sales rep that kind of real-time notification, that gives them, another route or another way to kind of get into the frozen account. And that's worked really, really well, just by kind of providing that, cold opportunity insight. The other thing that has worked, is, again, just using a pretty generic ABM play, right? Where we maybe sometimes will reach out to the person who went cold on us, but with a different message, different person, right? So rather, if they've gone cold on the SDR, maybe the AE reaches out, or if they've gone cold on the AE, maybe I reach out or something. That can sometimes kind of stimulate a response when people, that works really well if people just got busy, and they still are interested, but just, got distracted, if you will. And then we have used direct mail at times, as well, to kind of follow up, to reach out to people. So I do want to give a quick plug on the Engagio website. We have an ebook called the Orchestration ebook, or so the Orchestration Playbook, and it's got a list of, I think at least a dozen plays in it, including the what we call the Shake the Tree playbook, which is the one that we just talked about.
Yeah.
So if you go to our website and Google Marketing Orchestration Playbook, you'll be able to find it and download it.
I actually read this ebook, a great one with lots of tactics, and I will put a link to your website in a podcast description, so folks who will be listening to this episode would be able to download it. Again, one more question about your favorite playbook. I wanted to ask about warming up campaigns, because it always makes sense to warm up somehow your accounts before reaching them out. So again, what are your thoughts? What's best performing warming up campaigns did you do in past and can share with us?
And I just want to make sure I heard right, for warming up cold accounts?
Yep, for cold accounts.
Yeah, I mean, there's some similar themes kind of across the board here on these. You know, where you reach out to them with some common. I mean, sorry, I'm not being very articulate here. There's more. It's more about sort of the underlying themes here, right? It's about reaching out to them, to either a different person at the same account, or the same person with a different message, or coming from a different person on your side, but always, where possible, being really relevant and targeted to the needs of that specific account, right? So I think those are the patterns that are probably the most relevant to kind of pull out here.
Yeah, but most companies, they tend to use IP-based advertising, so to warm up accounts with some ads. Are there any alternatives to account-based ads? That might work great.
Got it. I see. I'm still a fan of targeted content, thought leadership based outreach. I mean, again, the problem with ads is potentially it's got some waste. By definition, you're going to be showing the ads to people who aren't the right people. But if you can have a salesperson or an SDR reach out to them, with a very targeted, relevant message, it goes back to my spear phishing versus net phishing. I mean, an ad is a net. You're going to throw something broad out and hope to catch some people. I think you can also warm up the exact right people at the right accounts with targeted outreach.
So content can be used as a trigger to start. Again, it could be manual outreach, but you use content instead of direct message to book a call or schedule a demo call.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Just the last question I wanted to ask, because I see we are out of the time. What do you think is the future of account-based marketing? How it will change after pandemic? How it would be different? Or would it be
about the? I mean, I think the future of ABM is, I would give the same answer pre or post COVID. But there's very few companies that are all ABM or all traditional demand gen. And I think that as I described earlier, there's a spectrum of different styles for different price points, and a lot of companies span across multiple price points there. So where I think ABM is going is that ultimately we're going to see less of a hard divide between, I've got my marketing automation platform for doing demand gen, and I have my ABM platform for doing ABM. I think we're going to see a blurring here, where we're going to start to have a new generation of marketing platforms that can span both across people and accounts. And so kind of one system, if you will. So put another way, I mean, I think in the future, the marketing automation systems are going to look very, very different, probably coming from different vendors, because they'll be supporting a bunch of new styles of go-to-market as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So just to wrap up for our guys, you can listen to this episode also on iTunes and Google Podcast. In podcast description, you'll find a link to Engagio playbooks, as well to Jon's LinkedIn profile. You can follow him on LinkedIn. And thanks a lot, Jon, for providing your thoughts, for sharing with us your expertise on account-based marketing, and especially on some case studies you have successfully run previously. So I wish all the best to Engagio. So you'll grow this year again, and hope we'll talk soon again about account-based marketing.
Cool. Take care.
Yeah. Take care too. Cheers.